to conduct an interview on how English and reading skills can be improved in young Nigerian students from teachers' perspective. It is a big issue in Nigerian education. I hope you are aware. And not much information has been gathered as to the best ways to develop the reading skills of young students in Nigeria. So any contribution here will be highly valued. So I want you to introduce yourself first and also give me the permission to also interview your teachers in the school. So after now, they also sign the consent form. So and I can assure you that every information they share here will be purely confidential. They'll feel free to say their wrong or correct answers based on their own perspective. I appreciate your support and collaboration. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. My name is Miss Mary. I'm a head teacher, Mrs. Costa. Yes, thank you for your question on how to improve reading among Nigerian children. Actually, it's a big problem in Nigeria. There are so many children out there that don't know how to start off reading, that don't know their reading skills. And I think that has to do with the school they attend. Maybe they don't know how to go about it. But I want to say a few things concerning that. Alright, on how to improve reading in children, among Nigerian children. Alright, one, I think that has to do with the parents. The parents should kind of, read out aloud to their children. Because some parents don't have time for their children. They should have time for their children by telling them stories. My son, I always try as much as I can to tell him all kinds of stories. I think it really helped his reading skill. It's made him to pick interest in reading. You understand? So I think that should go a long way to help Nigerian children when it comes to reading. So the parents should try as much as they can to have time for the children, read aloud to the children. Okay? Then another one is they should also be surrounded by reading materials, not just their school reading books. The reading materials like magazine, newspapers, Bible, etc. is also improve their reading skill. It helps them to know, it helps them in to develop their vocabulary, not just the one they are reading in their school. Parents has to kind of get the material that apart from the ones that they use in school, they keep it as strategic, places at home, like their bedroom, their sitting room. It will help the children to overcome the problem of reading. And again, that one has to do with sounds, and children should be well grounded when it comes to sounds. When they know their sounds, it will help them to read and read very well. Anything they don't know, by the time they see that word, they will sound it and they will put it together. And they also need a lot of encouragement. Very important. When my son started reading initially, he was like, I cannot do it. But you should not use the word cannot. There's nothing like I cannot. You can do it. There's nothing you will focus on. You can do it. Just if you don't get it right, I will correct you. Not when a child makes it, so we shout down on the child. It's not right. We should encourage our children, encourage our pupils. When they make mistakes, we correct them. But correct them with love. They will, this thing is not difficult. It's something that I can do. Before you know it, that child will pick up.
Thank you so much. I can see your school is a the way you're explaining, because your school is well grounded in this reading. Thank you for all your efforts. So, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Esther Balijo. I am a teacher in Moses Scott Schools. I teach year 1 class. My level of qualification is ASC Education, Business Education. I use language in communicating with the children. I use English language in communicating with the children in the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, any information you give us here will be highly confidential and will be used specifically for academic purpose. Okay. And you are already aware that the interview is being recorded with your permission. Thank you for your support. So can I ask, better understand the discussion will be commenced by getting to understand you better and your views as regards to teaching reading in young students. What do you understand by reading?
Okay, reading, from the best of my knowledge, is gathering information for purpose of understanding, assimilating, or getting used to the questions that follows. Okay, in a nutshell, reading is gathering information for a certain purpose. It could be for leisure, it could be for assessment, and so on.
Thank you so much. So how important is reading in the classroom?
Okay, reading is very important in the sense that it helps the children to, in the aspects of communication. For example, a child that cannot read cannot understand what is being said by the teacher. Most importantly, in the aspect of numeracy, word problems, a child that cannot read cannot understand what is to be solved in our numeracy. Okay? So with that, I think reading is very, very important.
What are your students' general reactions with regards to reading in the classroom?
Okay?
Their reactions as regards to reading.
Okay. Initially, when I got to meet the children, they were not too confident in their reading. Okay? But I tried as much as I could to bring in the confidence from them. So, as we speak, my children are very confident with reading. They are always excited when they see a book. They always want to explore all what the book is about. So, yeah, excitement is always around all over the classroom. Thank you.
Do you think all the students are reading in your class? All of them?
Yes, I can confidently say that 99% of our children are reading. 99% of them are reading.
Okay, 99% of the children are reading. Wow, that's great. So, only 1% is not reading.
Yes, not that they are not reading, but they are still trying to get them to the level of the others. You know that we don't have children the same level, even children that are from the same family, we don't have them with the same traits. So that's why I won't say they are not reading. They are reading, but their reading has not gotten to the level of the others that are reading.
So what percentage of your children are reading very well?
Very well, the percentage of them that are reading fluent readers is about 90%. Okay, but the 10%, and I can't say they are not reading, but they are not reading fluently like that.
So is the school aware of this percentage?
Yes, the school is.
So what are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading? What do you think are the main issues, main challenges when it comes to reading?
Okay. First of all, one challenge I see in, let me use the 10% as a case study. One challenge I see is that some of them are having some learning difficulties. Okay. For example, some of them are dyslexic. Okay, they are not, they don't flow well with letters. Okay, that's one reading challenge they have. Another one is that some of them are kind of scared of reading. They feel that, oh, I'm not getting it. The teacher will not be happy. My friends will laugh at me. That's another area with regards to.
So what are you doing to overcome this challenge?
Okay. For the children that are dyslexic, I kind of read along with them. I use the skill of reading along with them. Then I kind of break down the word, the passage for them. For example, if they are to read a book, I kind of break it down for them. I also use the technique of flashcards. The words in their book, that's
That is synthetic.
yeah, that is synthetic.
Okay. The phonics is silent talk as in
Cat,
cat. Okay.
A as in apple.
Okay. Thank you so much. So you're telling me that specifically you use phonics approach or synthetic in your class.
Yes.
Which one of them do you use?
I use both, but I use more of the phonics because the synthetic is quite high for their level. So I try to learn the synthetic at some point, but not strongly.
Can I give you 5 reasons why you use phonics approach instead of the synthetic?
Yes, the phonics approach helps the children, number one, quickly to pick up in their way. A child that has never read before, as soon as the child gets to the class, I introduce the sounds. The child gets familiar with those sounds, learns them. Number two, the child can also identify a word anywhere, segments. Why I use the phonics approach, it helps the children to segment and read. Number three is that the phonics approach builds the child's confidence in reading. Because most times, children that can't read, when they tell them to read, they are always scared. For example, my daughter, she's usually scared to read. So what I tell her is, sound it and read. So she will look at the word, pick it, and read. Okay? Then the phonics approach also helps children to read fluently. A child that is learning to read, as she starts to read, she picks the word. But after some time, the child stops speaking. The child begins to flow. The child begins to flow in reading.
So how will you rate the performance of your children using this phonics approach?
Okay. Performance is I can rate it in percentage.
Yes.
I can say it's 100% for me because I've seen it work fast for me. If a child is brought to me newly, within a week, the child starts reading.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, the child starts reading. So I can say it's 100%.
Okay, for the session 5, we'll go through your identification as a teacher of the best practice that will enhance the teaching of reading in young students. What do you think would be the best practice to enhance the teaching of reading in students? What do you think is the best practice?
I said the best practice is the phonics approach.
Okay. Why do you think so? And what have you done to improve on this method?
Well, like I said, my reasons for one of my reasons for using that approach is because it helps children to read fast. It helps children to read fast. It builds their confidence. So that's why I over the years, I feel that reading, using phonics approach is the best.
How did you come across this method? Did you research? Did you learn on your own? Or were you trained by the school? What was the duration of the training?
Yes, it was true. I was trained because I was trained to teach children. I went through a lot of on the job training while teaching. So I was trained to teach children reading.
How long did it take to be trained?
Well, within a year, I was able to grasp the skill of teaching children to read within a year of training.
So, do you create opportunities for students to ask questions in your class? Or build on previously learned lessons already? Like when you want to start lesson, do you create ability for them to ask questions to you? Or do you do that?
Yes, I do.
And do you offer corrections or feedback without students' ability at the end of the class?
Yes.
Do you believe that students always understand any correction offered on their work?
Yes.
How do you assess the level of reading of your students? How do you do the assessments? Do you do tests? Is there any standardized test that you offer to assess the level of
Yes.
what kind of tests have you ever done?
We do NWEA assessments. Okay. Recently we did that. The children do their tests. It's called a standardized test, a benchmark assessment for
To
the
assess
children
their reading?
to assess their reading.
Okay, why do you think these children need this testing?
Okay, they need this testing from time to time to be able to help me as a teacher to know their level, to also know the key areas to work on the challenges they might be still having concerning the reading.
So did you receive any formal training for assessing the level of reading?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Which of the training?
The benchmark training.
Okay. So is there any other thing you can say on this reading topic?
I've said all I have to.
Okay, so just feel free to discuss anything you want to discuss based on this reading, and maybe if you feel that you require further training on this reading, you can feel free to tell us.
Okay. Concerning, because in my class there are some children that I mentioned that have some learning disabilities. Okay, so I would love to be trained, I would love to be trained in that area because I feel that I will not be doing enough for the children that are having that challenge. So I would love to be trained.
Thank you so much for your support and your collaboration.
Thank you so much.
Can you something man about I've already spoken to your head teacher, and she offered me permission to do research work on reading, on how English reading skills can be improved in young Nigerian students based on your perspective as a teacher. You know, this is a big issue in Nigeria. So, and not much information has been acquired based on reading. So, this interview will be used basically for education purposes. And any information given to us here will be confidential. So, feel free to say yes or no, correct or wrong answers based on your perspective. And thank you also for signing the consent form.
You're welcome.
So can you tell us your name?
Okay, my name is Pisa Matu.
Okay. Okay. Number of years of teaching experience?
6 years.
Okay. Your current teaching level?
Okay, teaching year 1 minutes.
Okay. Your educational specialty, what did you do?
I studied biochemistry.
So is that your highest level of
Yeah, it is
what language do you use in teaching?
English.
So based on your perspective on teaching reading, what do you understand by reading?
I think basically reading it's all about understanding either a written or printed word. Okay, you giving meaning, deriving the meaning from what is being written out, either symbols, written articles.
How important do you think reading is in the class?
I think it's very important because there's basically nothing we do without reading, even if it has to do with mathematics. You still have to read to understand. So generally, reading is everything.
What do you think are your students' reactions based on reading? How do they like reading? What are their reactions?
The reactions, they do enjoy reading because they can read.
Generally,
Yeah, generally, they enjoy reading, they can read. So it's fun for them.
so are all your students reading at the same grade level?
Not really, not at the school grade level.
Okay, what percentage of your students are not reading?
I don't have any friends that don't read in my class. They all read.
All of them read
Yeah,
in year one.
yeah. They all
All.
read.
So there's no singular person that is not reading.
No, they all read.
Is the school aware of this percentage?
Yeah, they are.
So what are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading? What do you think are the main issues?
The main issues, I think, it's when a child doesn't have a good background on their sounds, how to make use of their sounds, their digraphs, how to segment words for easy understanding, blending of words. I think basically that's the foundational problems we usually have when a child doesn't have those understanding.
So what can teachers do to overcome these problems?
I think overcoming this kind of problems for teachers, basically, such a teacher has to have an understanding of the phonic sounds. The teachers has to have understanding on digraph, because these are literal or basic things in every word. We get to see the regular letters that also have their sounds. So if the teacher knows the sounds, know the digraph, know how to make a child break down words, no matter how long it is. You break them down for easy understanding and easy pronunciation. Okay, I think those are ways to easily overcome or help a child that cannot read.
In the next section, we'll be talking about the present teaching methods, your current reading methods and strategies on teaching reading.
Okay.
So what are your current teaching methods on teaching reading in your class?
Okay, for my class, the method I use is, as I said initially, they are okay with their sounds, they know their sounds, so we are not on
In
that.
particular, what are your current teaching methods already?
My own teaching method already, it's to make sure my method is when it's time for my own class to read, okay, if we come across or encounter a particular word that is difficult for a child to pronounce, we get down to those words, break it down, use their sounds, use the digraphs to identify such words. Now, why we do that, put them together, blend them together, it makes it easier for the child to be able to pronounce such words, and by so doing, we overcome difficulties in pronouncing some words while reading. Okay. Yes. That's it.
I understand there are different approaches to reading. Do you use alphabetic approach in your class, or do you use phonics method or synthetic approach? Which one do you use in your whole language approach? What do you use
I use for this method.
in phonics approach?
Yeah.
Give me an example of how you have used it.
Okay. The phonics method is about the sounds. Okay. So when we come across a word like I can give examples of words, right?
Yes.
Okay. When we come across a word like a bag, for example, we'll go ahead using the sounds on each letter, like the B, bo, the A, and the G, g. So we say bo, ag, and it's easier for the child to put it together, bo, ag, to give you what? Bag. Okay, so those are the kind of.
Okay, so that's phonics approach.
Yes, ma'am.
So this whole language approach, what do we have you ever used it in your class?
Yeah, you use it.
Whole language. Okay, so so you're telling me you're combining phonics approach with whole language. Okay. So whole language approach, what can you tell us about it? What you use?
The whole.
Yes, is it you just give them book to read, or you combine it with phonics approach?
No, I first of all give them books to read. I hear them read. Okay, I sit back and listen to them read. Okay, and try to find out where they are struggling. And then when they are done, I step in. We do together. We read together, and then that's when we use the phonics approach to.
So you're telling me you're combining whole language approach with the
Yes.
phonics approach?
Yes.
And it has been working over the years.
Beautifully well, yeah.
Okay. 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 So why do you think it is working? For those two methods, combining whole language and phonics, why do you think it works? Can you give me 5 reasons why you think it's working?
Why I think it's working. Okay. Number one, I think it's working because that particular approach on a child is easier. I think it's easier because it's when a child knows that if I'm to use a particular this sound, okay, I have to know my sound. I already know my sound. I use my sound. I break them down. Okay, there's this confidence in the child, this boldness in the child. Instead of standing there and looking at that particular word, the child tends to break the word on his or her own, yeah, and then use the sound and get the words together. So it builds up confidence in the child, the boldness, yes. Okay.
What other reason apart from confidence?
Okay. Another reason for myself as a teacher.
Specifically what you use in class.
Yes, for myself as a teacher, it helps me. It reduces the stress on my own work. Okay, when they are already grounded in such sound and they already know how to use it, it makes my own work easier. It makes my own work easier because I don't really need to start cracking my head. I don't really need to start thinking, okay, this child doesn't know how to read. What do I do? Okay, so long as that basis is there, it makes my work easy. Yes, yes.
And they grasp it faster. So how will you weigh the performance of the students using the current approach?
To rate
Using
performance.
the combination of the whole language and the phonics
Yeah.
approach, how will you rate their performance?
I'll rate their performance percentage.
Yeah.
Okay. I rate their performance. I can give my own class, for my own class,
Yeah.
I can give them 97% for my own class.
So in this session, we'll be talking about how you were able to identify the best practice to improve your reading. So what do you think would be the best practice to enhance this teaching of reading? What is the best practice?
The best practice for a teacher. The best practice for a teacher
To improve on the reading.
to improve on the reading. Basically, I think first of all, the teacher has to first of all find out the specific areas the child is having the reading problem, because every children have their own difficulties or problems while reading. So I think as a teacher, first of all, you have to find out exactly what the reading challenges is for such a child. Okay, then you know where the angle to step in. A child might already know how to use the sound, but don't know how to break words down, segment word, I mean. Okay, so you know, okay, as a teacher, this child, she knows a sound, he knows a sound, but he doesn't know how to break big or long words. Okay, so you step in as a teacher and help the child know how to segment words in syllables to make it easier. Okay, yeah. So they just identify.
How can you improve on this method?
As a teacher,
Yes.
to improve
On your best practice.
on your best. I think it's just to read up on more experiences.
To do more research.
Yeah, to add more experience on the one you already have, because that different method comes up every day, different ideas. So I guess trying or laying your hands on new approaches coming up will improve you as a teacher.
So how did you come across this method? Did you research on your own, or were you trained by the school?
Okay, actually I was trained by the school.
Okay.
Yeah, I was trained by
How
the
long
school.
was the training?
The training came in batches. Okay, we had the one of 3 months, we had the one of 6 months, so they came in different batches. Yeah.
So do you ever create opportunities for students to ask questions in your class
Okay,
when you're teaching this reading?
yeah, because there are times when they read, there are some that they really need to step in before the comprehension, whatever takes place. Okay, so it's always, even when you don't give them the opportunity to ask, you always see them asking. Okay, in this case, I don't understand this, and we always have the avenue to retell a particular story. Okay, so that helps us talk more about a passage and then ask questions and answer
So which means in a day, if you want to start up a new class,
Yeah.
you build upon your previously learned
Yeah, before we start a new class, like a new passage or a topic, okay, we have to review what we did the previous day or the previous class. We talk about the topic and what we basically understood from what we read.
Do you ever offer corrections to test the students' ability at the end of each lesson?
Sorry?
Do you offer corrections or feedback
Okay.
to tax the children's ability on the reading?
Yeah.
When they fail a particular,
Yeah.
do you provide corrections to also tax them and to
Yeah.
know how well they
Yeah.
understood the topic?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you believe that your students always understand any correction given? Do you think so? Any correction, anytime you offer correction, do you think they understand?
Yeah.
How?
There are times where my children in class, there are times when after doing a particular work, they don't get it. Okay, I step in and come in with the corrections. That particular correction is like myself going over that particular topic or passage over with the details, explaining. Okay, so the understanding it's yeah, it's easier.
So how do you assess the level of reading for children?
Okay.
Do you do any testing, standardized testing? How do you know their level?
Okay. There are times where books are given out. Okay. We watch the child read. You try to know the child's fluency, pronunciation, punctuation. You rate the child by that. Okay. So that's how we.
Is there any particular testing that you could do to get the level of reading of your children?
Yeah, from the school.
Okay.
Yeah, from the school there is.
Have you ever done anything to improve on this method? What kind of testing do you actually use?
Okay, there's always a reading assessment being done with the children from the school. Okay, such assessment has different categories. Okay, different categories. There you have different sections of reading. If a child is able to read a particular comprehension and the child did well, the child is only permitted to go to the next stage. By so doing, you watch the child's progression. Okay, you watch the child. It enables you to study the child's progress. The child is doing well or not. Pronunciation of words, big words, short words, reading with diction, reading fluently. Yeah, so those progressions are being taken by the school. Yeah.
So did you get any form of training on this assessing the children on their level of reading?
Yeah, before the assessment started, the school went training on how to actually get it right. Okay, yeah.
What kind of training did you get?
Okay, we are trained on this is a particular way you need to see or hear a child read to know this particular child is doing well. These are the things you need to look out for. These are the things you need to watch out for. Okay, yeah.
So what are your requirements for further training? Do you require any further training on testing its children?
Further training.
Yeah.
Okay.
Testing the level of their reading.
Further training? No, because that's been done already. We've been trained on that already.
Is there anything you let us know on this reading? Feel free to talk about anything. Apart from all these questions, is there anything you want us to know?
Okay,
how to improve their reading in children?
Yeah, I think first of all, as a teacher, you have to first of all have a passion.
Okay.
A passion. That's the drive there. Have a passion to actually see a child that cannot read and be like, okay, I think I really need to work on this child and this child has to improve. I think that's the very first thing, to have the passion, because if you don't have the passion, you might not want to go all the way to help a child overcome the reading problems. Okay, yeah, and then on your own as a teacher, try to always improve on yourself, improve on your ideas, because better ideas comes up every day. Okay, and then most importantly, the approach you use on a particular child might not really be the same approach that will work on another child.
Thank you so much for your cooperation.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
How English reading skills of young children can be improved in Nigeria based on teacher century. So any information offered here will be used for educational purpose.
Okay.
And you are free to say yes or no, and give correct or incorrect answers based on your own perspective. So we thank you for your permission for signing the consent form, and we anticipate your support. Can you tell us your name, please?
Okay, my name is Miss Mary Charles.
Okay.
Okay.
How long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching for like 6 years now.
Okay. What grade level?
Okay. My present grade level is grade 1.
It's a year one.
That's primary, year 1, yes.
What is the educational specialty?
My educational specialty is Nigerian certificate in education.
Okay. Is that your highest level of degree?
For now,
What language do you use in teaching?
I use English language.
So we are talking about your perspective on teaching reading. Can you tell us what you understand by reading?
What I understand by reading, reading is the recognition of words, first of all. and children should be able to recognize words and symbols in things. And beyond recognition of word, reading involves comprehension. That is, when a child reads, should be able to comprehend what he has read whatsoever. So I think reading, my own perspective is that reading is a recognition of words and the ability for a child to comprehend things and symbols.
How do you think, how important is reading in your classroom?
Reading is very important, just like every other skill, speaking skills and writing skills. Reading is also a skill, and I think reading is important because one, reading builds a child confidence in the classroom, irrespective of every other subject to teach. A child that is able to read has confidence in whatever the child wants to learn. And then secondly, reading exposes the child to the world around them, because when you pick a book to read, it helps you to learn. You can decide to pick a book on science or any other subject. After reading, you've been able to gain knowledge. And another thing reading does is that it expands the child's imagination, because it makes you to try to reason, what you're reading. You try to figure out facts, and it also builds empathy, because reading novels, I like reading novels. So after reading some novels, you begin to feel emotional, or you're trying to be the writer of that book. So you're trying to feel sad or happy. So it also builds empathy in reading. So I think reading in the classroom is very important, because why? It builds children confidence, expose their knowledge and a lot more. So reading is very important.
So what are your general children's reaction as well as reading?
Well, reaction to reading, I want to use my own grade level, because reaction varies according to the class of children you teach. For example, if you're teaching a child in nursery, it differs from children in primary, secondary, and adults who are not able to read. So reaction of children for year one, they're excited because they already have the pre-skills on how to read. They get excited when they see books, prints, and colors. So when you want to read, they're excited. So my reaction of children in a primary one class, they're always excited.
And all your children, they're reading at the same level? Regularly?
No, they are not reading at the same
What percentage of the students are not reading?
Okay, I would say the percentage is 90 to 10. 90% are reading very, very well. Okay, then 10%, they are actually reading, but since they are not on the same level, so I would say it's 90 to 10.
Is the school aware of this percentage?
Yes, school is aware.
So what are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading?
Basically, let me still go by the grade level I am. The basic challenge I observe sometimes for children is fluency. Some children, they don't read very well, they read, but they are not fluent. They try to take words bits by bits, especially for children that are still learning to read. And then another challenge is comprehending. Like I said initially, reading is not just about recognition of words. You have to be able to comprehend. So another challenge that children have is being able to comprehend words that have been read. So basically, fluency and comprehending, it's a basic challenge for some of them.
So what can the teachers do to overcome these problems?
What the teacher can do is to build, perseverance in children. Because when you have a challenge and you keep practicing, regular practice, it helps the child to overcome that challenge. And then when a child is persevering, trying to do that thing over and over again, before you are able to overcome it. So I think continuous practice, will help the children to overcome that.
So the next section we're going to talk about your current teaching methods in your classroom. So what are your current teaching methods?
Okay. My current teaching
Based on
method.
reading, as regards to reading.
My current teaching method as regards to reading is the phonics method.
Okay.
Since there are several methods, initially I said it still depends on the level of children you teach. The phonics method helps the children to learn the letter sounds. And then after learning the letter sounds, you learn the letter names. Then you also learn how to combine words, these letters to form sounds. You build digraphs, you build phonograms that are able to make words. And then I believe that the phonics approach is the basic approach for the grade of children I'm teaching, since they are still learning how to pronounce a lot of words and then words that they are not familiar with. So I think they need to learn the sounds, the letter names, and then build words with the sounds and the letters they have learned. So for me, I think for a grade level, the phonics method is very, very important. And again, I would also suggest the language method. Language method is the words that the children are already familiar with.
Language method, sorry. Is it whole language method?
Okay, whole language method, because this has to do with the words the children are already familiar with.
Okay.
So they try to learn from their foundation.
Okay.
Like if a child is familiar with cats, you can start making sentences with cat. This is a cat, the cat is big, the cat is fat. Thereby you're building the child courage and foundation on new words.
Okay.
So whole language method is equally good for children that are still learning how to read.
So now, which one do you use in your class? Are you using alphabetic approach? Are you using phonics approach? Are you using synthetic approach? Are you using whole language approach?
I use phonics approach. I use whole language, and I also use synthetic approach because I have children at different pace. So to help all of them to learn very well, you have to apply different approaches to
Give
see
one
the
example
ones.
for me.
Okay, example for the phonics approach. It's for those of them that are just learning how to read. So you have to teach them the sounds, single phonics first of all. Afterwards, you go by the letter name, and then afterwards you start blending, like CVC blends. Teach them those simple words from what they know to what they don't know. Those ones goes for those children that don't even know how to read at all. Then for those of them that can read, you start building what they already know, which is a whole language. So they can make words, you start making sentences with the words, and you can ask them to make very simple sentences from what they already know. Though then the synthetic approach too exposes them to several alternative spellings of words, because a child might
be
be
difference between the phonics and the
yes, because like for the synthetic phonic, a child that already know how to read with the phonics approach might come across a word that he or she is not familiar with. For example, you already know UE as eve sound. Coming across EW might be difficult, but using the synthetic approach, you already show them alternative spellings, so they're already familiar with that.
Okay. So if you use any of these methods, please indicate the approach you use in the classroom and give me 5 reasons for that.
Okay, basically I use the phonics approach.
Okay. Only
Yes.
or
Like I said, the most effective method for me is the phonics approach. And my reasons, one is that over time it has been very effective. It builds the children confidence from what they know to what they don't know. As it's not very good starting from what children don't know. Then number 3, it helps children to begin to form words on their own from the sounds they have learned. And also they start reading words at their own grade level, because for the phonics approach, it breaks down the level of the children. Like you have series of words for grade 1, grade 2, so it helps them to learn words at their own level. And then the number 5 is that it helps children to pronounce words correctly, since you learn the sounds and the letters.
Which one do you think is most effective?
The phonics approach is most effective.
How do you rate the performance of the students using this particular approach?
Okay, how I would rate the performance of the children using this particular approach. As a teacher that does not just use one approach, I use several other approaches. So if I use this approach, for example, I use whole language and I use phonics and I also use synthetic approach. I know the one that is very effective for me. So the
How
one
do you
that
rate it? Percentage.
okay, the
1 to
percentage
10.
to phonics approach, I would say is 90% for me as a class teacher that has been using it.
So for session 5, we are going to identify the best practice that will enhance this teaching of reading. So what do you think would be the best approach, best practice, sorry, to enhance the teaching of reading? What is your best practice to build up, to improve this reading? What is your best practice? What do you do?
My best practice, I would say, is exposing the children to several books.
Okay.
Exposing children to books, allowing them to choose books on their own. It helps them, it builds their curiosity on a particular book. Like if I bring in children here and give them a particular book, that may not really be the book they want to. But if I allow them to pick a book, sit down with the book and try to read it, So I think the best approach, firstly, in building children's enhancing the teaching of reading in students, exposing them to books, libraries, take them to the libraries, let them explore, pick books, and then study. So that's very, very effective because it will help them to be able to choose the book they want to, enjoy the reading on their own. Thereby, when they are done, they can drop down and pick up another book. So I think exposing them to books will be very, very effective.
So why do you think, okay, give me the reasons.
Yes.
So how will you improve on this method?
How to improve on this method? By just getting more books, enriching the libraries, enriching the classrooms with so many books. Even at home, as parents, you need to enrich your homes with books, not just Bible stories, books from different areas that will help the child.
So how did you come across this method of reading? Did you research, learn on your own, or were you trained by the school?
Okay, firstly, I would say I learned on my own because naturally I read a lot. And if you impose a book on me, I'll just read it because maybe it's an exam. But on my own, I think if I go to the library, pick up a book, I enjoy it more than when you ask me, go and read Chike and the River. So that's on my own experience. And then learning from it is that I understand that library is very important. It helps children to read. They always want to go to the library. So that's how I got to know about the reading.
About the reading method,
Yes.
for this approach. So what was the duration of your training on your own?
Okay, the duration, I wouldn't be very specific on the duration as to the years, but I would say it all started from when I was in school. I got to understand the importance of reading, choosing a book, enjoying reading. So I would say it's been years.
So do you create opportunities for students to ask you questions in class?
Yes, I do. Because I understand that when children ask you questions, it helps them to, first of all, understand what you've taught them or what you're talking about. So when you don't create room for questions, they have their doubts that are not being cleared. So asking questions helps children to be clarified in a particular lesson that is being taught.
So do you offer corrections
Yes, I do.
after every
Lessons, yes, I do.
Do you believe that students will understand your correction?
Yes, I do, especially for reading, because the corrections, like when they read a book, they are not familiar to the word. Pick out those words, write them on the board, and try to go over it again Then how to assess if actually they have understood. When you give them the book again and they are able to read it, then you're very sure that they have understood the corrections of the board. So without that, I think you won't be very convinced that they already know what you're doing.
How do you assess the level of reading in your class?
I assess the level of reading in my class by giving them several one-on-one assessments. I call the child, if you read for me, when reading, you see that some children are very fluent, they read the words without difficulties, while some children will be on a particular page, for some minutes and time, trying to even read some lines. And then, for other children, they are being able to read a whole book within a space of time. So to be able to assess if this child is very good in reading is one, I will listen to their fluency, their time in reading a particular book, and then I'll be able to know the level of the child.
Okay, is there any particular standard test that the students is for reading?
For the school, yes.
To assess the level of reading?
Yes. You must ensure you read your diction for the school. A child that is reading very well should pronounce the words correctly, not from what you know. Like, for example, you're just familiar to calling the word, like the letters C-H-U-R-C-H. You say church, and then you're reading, pronounce it as church. But the school encourages you to pronounce the words correctly, calling it church.
What about, is there no benchmark assessment for them to ascertain their level?
Okay. Yes, there is a benchmark assessment for the children in their grade level. In each term, there is a general benchmark assessment by the school. The name I can't recall very well, but I know.
So how do you think you can improve on this method, on your assessment?
Which of the methods? Is it the
The reading
assessment?
assessment, yeah.
Okay.
The way you assess reading.
Personally, as a teacher,
Yes.
basic ways to improve on the methods of assessing the children. Firstly, I'll say you can study. You can go on further research to gain knowledge on this and how to assess the children.
Did you receive the relevant training for assessing the level of reading of your students in class?
Yes.
Can you specify the training?
Yeah, the training I received was basically the phonics training from the school, and the phonics training also involved teaching the child how to read, and then the reading of the children involves, after reading you should be able to retell,
Or
from
did
the
you
school.
specify the level in the phonics training? They also taught how to assess reading, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for your collaboration. Is there anything that we also need to know about reading or how to improve reading skills in children? Is there anything you can add to, apart from all these questions?
Okay, I would say to improve reading in children, we encourage children, no matter how small, no matter their age level, to make out a reading timetable on their own, because just like they enjoy programs and cartoons, you should make sure your children enjoy reading. They look up to the time. Oh, it's not yet time for us to read, so they should have a timetable. Maintain it, follow it up even as children, and I'm sure it will become part of them when they are already used
And
to
to help them to enjoy the reading.
Yes, it will.
As an activity.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Conduct a research on improving reading, English and reading skills in young children based on your perspective as a teacher. So, it's a big issue in Nigeria. So, we are looking at gathering information on how to develop the reading skills of young children in Nigeria. So, this interview we use basically for educational purpose, and it's through your consent too, and that we're able to be here. So I assure you of the confidentiality to us here. So feel free to provide accurate or inaccurate answers, correct or wrong, yes or no. And thank you for your permission for allowing us to interview you. I'm sure you know where the interview is being recorded. Thank you so much. So can you tell us your name?
My name is Mabel Austin.
Sorry?
Mabel Austin.
So how many years of experience have you had teaching?
Probably 7 years.
What is your current teaching level?
Year 1.
What is your educational specialty? What did you learn in school?
Chemistry, technology.
So is that your highest level of education?
Yes.
Yes. What language do you use to teach?
It's English.
So in this session, next session, we're going to talk about your perspective on teaching reading. What do you think is reading?
I think reading is getting information from friends.
From friends. How important do you think reading is?
Reading is very, very important because you'll be able to see something written on print and you'll be able to understand what is said about what is written inside the print. Because if you see a print and you couldn't even read what is there, which means you can't even know what is there. If it's something that won't give you, you can't even know what is there. So reading is very, very important.
So what are your students' general reaction as regards to reading?
Reading. Well, they are very, very excited whenever it comes to reading. Like what I do is, once you finish whatever you're doing, even eating, you take up a book to read. You see them rushing up to eat up their food so that they can come and read.
Because they enjoy reading.
Yes, they enjoy reading.
Very nice. So are all your children, all your students reading at the same level?
No, not all reading at the same level.
Okay, what percentage of the students are not reading in your class?
Well, it's that they are reading actually, but not the same level with the other one, just two of them.
So only two
Yes,
children
only two.
are not reading. So out of 100, less than 2%
Besides,
are not reading. Is the school aware of this percentage?
yes.
What are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading?
Some of them is how to segment the word and break it down to pronounce it.
So what can teachers do to overcome these challenges?
Yes, like more words in segmentation should be taught so that the child will eventually see a long word and be able to break it down and pronounce it.
So teachers should improve on segmentation
Segmentation.
to help them to read long words.
Yes.
So teachers, so now as a teacher, what are your current teaching methods on teaching reading? What are your current methods when you want to teach?
I have different ways of teaching them. I can start from simple sounds, then from there I go to consonant words, then digraphs. Then also I have to bring out the tricky words because those tricky words cannot be sound. So that whenever they see those tricky words, they'll be able to pronounce it. And I have to make sure those tricky words are stick to them. So whenever they see those tricky words, they know they don't have to break it down, they just have to pronounce the word. That's what I do.
Do you ever use alphabetical approach, whole language approach, phonics approach, synthetic approach in your class?
We use the synthetic approach, synthetic phonics approach.
So I want the four, the phonics synthetic approach I use.
Yes.
I want the four alphabetic,
I also use
whole
phonics,
language,
yes.
phonics,
Phonics,
and
yes. Or the
synthetic.
synthetic phonics.
So what's the difference between phonics and synthetic?
The difference is not much there. The phonics only you just use only to just the sounds, while the synthetic phonics approach, you use both the letter and the sound to teach a child how to read the letter and sound it. That's the difference.
So which of this method do you use in your class? And give me 5 reasons why it is good in your class.
I use the synthetic phonics approach. And why I use that is so that when a child see a particular word, you'll be able to know how the sounds goes from each letter, from there to blend it together and sound it.
So how would you rate the performance of the students using this reading method?
Very, very good. It has really been helping them.
You know about 100%, 70%. So how would you rate the performance?
I can rate it 100%.
100%.
Yes, performance.
Using synthetic phonics. So what do you think will be the best practice to enhance this reading? What is your best approach to enhance this the teaching of reading?
Yes. Okay. In my own best approach is whenever we are reading, if a child cannot pronounce a word, we write out the word and the word there. We have to follow up the sounds and break it down. And from there, the child will be able to know that when the word is bigger, you have to just break it down. And that's all.
So a child that cannot read, I want to know your best practice.
Okay.
And when you want to start teaching this reading.
For a child that doesn't know how to read at all, I have to make the child to know the single sounds first. So when the child finishes knowing the single sounds, I have to go back to this consonants and blends. Then when the child will be able to know the consonant blends, I have to bring those 2-letter words and 3-letter words first. So we're able to sound the 3-letter words and blend it together. And then from there, go over to the deep graph and I bring out the tricky words for the child to know the tricky words. Then constant teaching on D-graphs. When the child has learned those 2-letter words and 3-letter words, and constant teaching on the D-graphs. So that when the child sees a D-graph, we're able to blend it with other sounds.
So why do you think this approach, this your method is the best and how can you improve on it?
Yes, I think it's the best because it has really helped the children to read very, very well. And in a way of improving on it is I have to do more work on segmentation where I will be separating the different sounds and the D-graphs.
How did you come across this method? Did you research? Learn on your own or were you trained by the school?
Well, I have a little idea, but when I came in there, it was also enhanced in Moses School.
What was the duration of the training?
It was for the 10.
For a time. Do you create any opportunity for students to ask questions?
Yes, I do.
So to build up on their learning environment, what they learned before.
Yes.
Do you offer corrections or feedback?
Yes, offer corrections whenever against.
Do you believe that your students always understand any correction offered?
Yes.
How do you assess the level of reading of your students in the class?
I
Is there any
bring,
testing that you do?
yes, I bring different kinds of books for the child to read. And the child is able to read those different kinds of storybooks, which means the child can read.
So, do you offer any testing? How do you assess them? Is there any particular test that you do to assess the level of their reading in your class? So, what do you think and how will you improve on this method? The same thing does not come. So, did you receive any training on assessing reading?
The training I receive is to be bringing out different books for the child to read. But if the child cannot read those books, you have to go down to a lower level to the one the child can read.
Yeah, so maybe there are more training needs to be given on
Yes.
so you understand better on level of
Assessing
assessment.
a child.
So is there anything you need us to know on this reading? Anything you want to share apart from all these questions on how to improve reading for children?
What I would say is it is very good for a child to read. The sounds is the only thing that can make a child to really read properly. when a child knows all the sounds, there's no way a child will see a word and will not be able to pronounce the word. So the sounds should be more effective in all songs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I'm Mrs. Chidinma Aboy.
So they still at home.
So we are trying to conduct a research
Okay.
on how English reading skills can be improved in young Nigerian children. Okay. So, reading is a big issue in Nigeria, but not much information has been gathered on the best way to improve reading skills in young children in Nigeria. So this interview will be used specifically for education purposes.
Yeah.
You have every right to answer yes or no, give correct or incorrect answers. Feel free to answer, and I'll assure you of confidentiality. Any information given here will be highly confidential, and as you're aware, it is being recorded. Thank you for signing the consent form. What's the number of years of experience teaching?
5 years plus.
Okay. What is your current teaching level?
Reception.
Or your educational specialty?
Diction and reading.
Okay, so your level of education is
Advanced level.
advanced. Language used in teaching.
English and French.
So we are going to talk about your perspective as a teacher on teaching reading. What do you understand by reading?
To me, reading, I believe reading, I understand reading is oral interpretation of written language. That's the definition I can give for reading.
How important do you think reading is in the classroom?
Reading is very important in the classroom. First, reading, without reading, you can't be able to achieve anything in education, because reading is the mother to all the other subjects. Every other subject, you can't get anything from it without being able to read. Because what you read and know by yourself, it will be better interpreted to you than when someone else reads to you. Okay?
So what are your general children's reaction as regards to reading?
Like
How do you feel about reading?
my class is a reception class, and there are those children that just learned how to read newly. They are so excited about reading. They love, in short, reading is one of their hobby. Each time it's time to read, they are very excited. They are always, that zeal to read is always there. They are happy when they are reading.
Okay. Are all your students reading at the same level?
No, not all of them are reading at the same level.
What percentage of them are not reading?
Just about 10% are not reading.
Are not reading at reception.
Yes.
That's a good one. Is the school aware of the percentage?
Yes, the school is aware. They are already working towards that percentage that is not reading.
Okay. What are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading? What do you think?
Okay, first, at their levels, they have different challenges. Some of them is just fear. Just that fear, I cannot do it, or I might not be able to do it. And then others is the awareness of that their phonic sounds, single sounds, then the digraphs. So a child that doesn't have that awareness of sounds will have it very difficult to read.
Okay. What can teachers do to overcome these challenges?
To overcome the challenges of reading is to keep training them with more sounds. If the child now have gotten to know the sounds better now, the next thing is start putting them blending of sounds. But those sounds, now there are some other words that do not go with sound. You cannot sound them. Those sight words or tricky words. So what you do as you are blending the sounds with them, forming words, you treat it alongside with those tricky words. Those look and say words that this one now you cannot sound it the way you sound this one. You just have to know it that this word is this. Or you might use the letters to spell it for them now. Spell and pronounce.
So what can you give us your current teaching methods as regards to reading?
Okay, currently, like my class, like I said, about 90% are reading. They are reading very well, but with that 90%, there are some words that are long, that are not familiar with them. So what I do to those words, I help them, or I've taught them, I teach them how to break it into syllables or segment the words. If you segment the words, now not verbally in their minds, when you see a word now, you segment it and now pronounce it. You segment, you break it in your mind, now pronounce it. But for those that are still having challenges, I still take them, I treat about 5 sounds with them every day alongside the tricky words.
Your approach, is it alphabetic approach, whole language approach, phonics approach, synthetic phonics approach? Which of them do you use?
My approach is synthetic phonics approach.
Okay, so give us further examples on how you do that.
Synthetic approach, like I can pick a word. If I have known that a child has gotten to know all the sounds, I can take a word now, an unfamiliar word. I give the child now, okay, what sound is this? Ask the child first of all to now identify the sounds in the word. After identifying the sounds in the word, I tell the child now to put them together and call it at once. By so doing, the child pronounces the word.
So now, if you use a, which you say you are using a synthetic phonics, so give me 5 reasons why you think it's good.
First, synthetic phonics is good because first, you can't teach the child all the words in the dictionary. So, but awareness of sound will make a child to know that if I see this word, first of all, you have to make a child know that a word is formed with those sounds, those letter sounds that you already know. So, if you put a child puts the sounds together, the child will be able to pronounce any word that he or she sees. Secondly, synthetic phonics makes the child also to know how to spell. It helps the child to spelling, yes. And if you are treating synthetic phonics alongside with those tricky words, a child will be able to read sentences without being helped or directed. So that's alright.
Are we in 3 reasons?
Okay, it's 3. Okay, it's 2. Then on the 4th one. Then again, synthetic phonics will help to build a child's confidence. Since a child has already been aware of sounds, the child will be able to will not struggle to read any word that is because first of all, the child already have it at the back of his mind that it's sounds that make up a word. So seeing a word, you know that I know my sounds. Using that synthetic phonics methods, breaking it to pieces, the child will be able to read anything.
So how do you rate the performance of these students using this particular approach?
Rate their performances. I can rate it by giving them storybooks of different.
Like percentage, 100, 90, 80. What, how can you rate the performance? Using synthetic phonics of the children. Rate is like, say, 50, 60, so how can you rate the performance?
Okay, for synthetic phonics, they can give almost 95%. The method, yes,
Of the students.
of the students, because it helps them to get it faster.
Okay, so what do you think would be the best practice to improve teaching of reading in students?
Best practice, as in the method.
The best practice now, how you go about teaching them using that synthetic phonics.
Is to continually giving them storybooks to read.
Okay.
Yes, giving them books to read and comprehension. If you read, to answer the questions. Because we can give a child book just to check and play and say, I finished reading. If you, a child knows that after reading, I'm supposed to retell or answer questions, the child will be serious.
To be concentrated.
Yeah.
What do you think and how will you improve on this method? On this your method now?
On this, I will do more research.
Okay.
I will study more.
More and learn more.
Learn more.
How did you come across this method? Did you learn it on your own or were you trained by the school?
Okay, first, I can say first it's a gift.
Okay.
Because from as I was growing up from primary school, I loved reading. I I can remember when my eldest brother always buys storybooks for me. And then as I was growing up now, through my sister's children, their homework, I understood that there are methods of teaching the children. Then finally, I did a training. I have a diploma in diction. So through that training, it was perfected.
So what was the duration of the training?
It was a year plus,
A year plus how many months?
like 3 months.
In your class, you create opportunities for children to ask questions
Yes, I do that.
or to build upon their previous knowledge.
I do that.
Do you offer corrections or feedback
Yes, very
to
well.
assess their ability?
Very well.
Do you believe that your students always understand the correction?
They understand because I can say I can confirm that because if I give a correction and the person besides is trying to make that same mistake, the neighbor will report to me that this person is doing that mistake that you corrected. So with that I know that you understand.
So how do you assess the level of reading amongst your students in your class? How do you assess them?
I assess it through their diction, accuracy, and observation of punctuation
Is there any
marks.
particular testing that you do? Any name of a new test? Like your reading test?
I
Like
do.
this to assess the level?
I just call it reading test. So they come and read for me one after the other. I observe them, assess them.
Okay, the test is not standardized at their own level.
No.
Okay. How do you think and what do you think you be doing to improve on the method of assessment?
I think I can, like say, I can make it to be more standardized. I can make it to be standardized and maybe giving them exams and rewards the person that comes best, I will give the person a gift, just like that, promising them and giving them gifts. With that,
And you work with the school to
work with the school. Any lapses, I report to the school.
So did you receive any particular training for assessing the level of reading in your children?
No, I have not received yet.
Okay, so you need more training. But
Yes.
is there anything you need to discuss with us on how to improve reading? Apart from all these questions,
Okay.
is there anything you need to tell us?
Okay, for reading, children they have their personal challenges. Some children they might have that awareness of the sounds, but they are lacking in the idea of blending. So with that, you first of all have to identify a child's challenge and work on that. I think that would be the best way, working on personal and individual challenges.
Thank you so much. So yeah, Miss Sarah, I am Mrs. Chidinma. So I'm here to conduct a research on how English reading skills can be improved in young children based on your perspective as a teacher in Nigeria. Reading is a big issue, and there's not much information on how to develop the reading in young children. So this interview will be used specifically for academic purpose, and we are free to say yes or no, accurate or inaccurate. Your responses will be much appreciated, and we assure you of absolute confidentiality. Any information you give us here will be used basically for academic purposes. So may we know your name and your years of experience teaching?
My name is Sarah Babalola.
Okay. Number of years of experience teaching experience?
8 years, last 8 years.
So current teaching grade level.
KG2.
What is KG2? Is it foundation or
Reception.
Your educational specialty? What did you read in school?
Okay, I read business administration.
And that is your highest level of education.
HND in business administration.
What now would you use in school, in class to teach?
Basically English.
So in this session, we are going to talk about your own perspective in reading, in teaching reading. So what do you understand by reading?
My own personally, reading is the interpretation of text in any given situation. Interpretation of words.
So how important do you think is reading in the classroom?
Reading is very important in the classroom because it helps the children to decode any given sentences. It also enhances them to relate with their friends where they find themselves. Also, it helps them to develop a vocabulary.
So what are your students' general reactions as regards to reading?
To my pupils, anytime we tell them it's time for reading, they are always happy. They are always happy, except for a few of them who are yet to read very well. But they all like it anytime it's time for reading. They enjoy it, it's like fun to them when it's time for reading.
So are all your students reading at the same level?
Not at all. They're not reading at the same level.
What percentage are not reading?
Just 2%. 30%.
So 98.
Yes, I mean very good.
So is the school aware of the percentage?
Yes. Yes.
So what are the main challenges for students when it comes to reading?
The main challenge for children when it comes to reading is when they find a particular word that they cannot pronounce very well, so they find it difficult. They'll be waiting for the teacher to pronounce the word for them.
So what can the teachers do to overcome these challenges?
By using we have what we call tricky words to make sure that they read it every morning before any work, before anything is done in the class. We make sure that they go through all these digraphs, the tricky words every day. So constant by this day we'll be able to read very well.
So can you give us a brief description of your current teaching methods in the classroom as regards to teaching reading?
For my level, we use what we call the phonetics method, whereby we use the consonant blend, the digraphs to teach the children in the classroom.
Okay. So give us more detail. Do you use alphabetic approach, whole language approach, phonics approach, synthetic approach? So which of them do you use in your class?
My level, for the pupils in my classroom, we use phonics approach.
Okay. More details.
Okay, the phonics approach has to do with the consonant blend, like I mentioned earlier on, the digraphs. For instance, the CL sound clear. Then we have the vowel sounds also. We have the consonant blend. All these, when we put them together, also the syllables, when you put them together, it makes it to pronounce a word. Then the single sound also make use of the single sounds. For instance, go add gives us cats.
So which you have already said that they are using phonics approach in your class.
Yes.
So give us reasons why you think it's a good approach, the most effective approach in your class. 5 reasons, please.
For me, it's the easiest approach because it makes the children to read easily. Once they're familiar with the single sounds, they'll be able to blend words together and give you the actual words the child is to pronounce. To make them to read faster also.
Don't give us 2.
The phonics approach is just the best because it's very easy to learn with the actions also. Once they are familiar with the action also, it makes them to remember it anytime you ask them the actions, especially, yes. Once they know the actions and the sounds together, it makes them to read. Yes.
How would you rate the performance of the students using this approach?
It's based on the reading. the fluency in their reading. Whenever they are reading, you know that this child is reading well and this other one is not reading very well. It's through their fluency.
Okay, give us a percentage, 80, 70, 60, 50. How would you rate the performance of the students using this approach?
90%. 90%.
Okay, what do you think would be the best practice to enhance teaching of reading? What is your best practice?
By
Reading in class now, what is the best approach when you're using this method?
Okay, is to do it regularly. The best approach to read regularly, constant reading makes them to
Constant reading.
yes.
Why do you think so? And how do you improve on this method?